Okay, let's unpack this. We usually operate with this really comfortable mental model where there are two worlds.
Hmm.
You've got the analog world where we, stub our toes, drink coffee, complain about the weather.
Right.
And then there's the digital world, the internet, social media, all of that. We sort of treat them like they're neighbors.
Sure, maybe they borrow sugar from each other occasionally, but they definitely live in different houses.
Exactly. And for the last 20 years, that model has been pretty accurate. You log on to the digital world, and then you log off to get back to the real one.
Totally. But the material we're covering today basically takes a sledgehammer to that wall.
It really does.
Yeah.
The source argues we are no longer looking at a future where digital and analog are separate. It says we're witnessing their complete and total fusion.
And it's not just a philosophical thing like, oh, isn't that interesting? It's framed as an aggressive economic takeover.
A very bold premise.
Extremely. We're looking at a source that explores the rapid evolution of AI, but specifically through this lens of the singularity.
And I know singularity is one of those buzzwords that gets thrown around until it kind of loses all meaning.
Right. But this source uses it very specifically. It's describing a point of no return where the entire economy just starts playing by a different set of rules.
Yeah, and this is crucial for anyone listening who enjoys, having a bank account. It explains what this all means for where the money is going to flow.
And spoiler alert.
Spoiler alert.
Mhm.
The source thinks big tech is about to, and I'm quoting here, suck up all the world's wealth.
Which is, I mean, that's a terrifying visual.
It is. It sounds like something from a cartoon villain's playbook.
Mm.
But the source claims there's a very specific strategy for how you, the listener, can position yourself to not just survive this, but to comfortably watch the world change while getting rich.
So the big question is this just more doom scrolling or is there a real playbook here?
Let's dive in and find out.
Let's do it.
I want to start with this idea, this erasure of boundaries, because we've heard promises about the Internet of Things for, what, a decade? And my smart fridge still doesn't really know what to do with itself. But this source argues the timeline has just accelerated massively. It lists all these specific tasks AI and robots are taking over.
And it's a comprehensive sweep. What's fascinating to me is that it doesn't really distinguish between blue collar and white collar anymore.
No, it doesn't.
It just treats them as the same problem being solved by the same technology.
Let's look at the domestic side first. The source paints this picture of AI handling housework, specifically mentioning stocking the refrigerator and doing the cooking.
Yeah.
Now, I have to be a skeptic for a second. We've all seen those demos of robots folding laundry, and it takes them like 4 minutes to fold one shirt.
It's impressive, but it's incredibly slow.
Exactly. So is the source saying this is happening now, or is this more in 10 years kind of fluff?
That's the critical distinction. The source argues that we've crossed a threshold in embodied AI. You see, for a long time, we had Moravec's paradox. It was easy to make a computer beat a grandmaster at chess, but it was incredibly hard to make a robot pick up a crushed tomato without squishing it.
Right, because the digital brain was a genius, but the physical hands were clumsy.
The physical world is messy. It's analog. But the source argues that this fusion means the digital intelligence has finally figured out the analog physics. It's not just about ordering milk when you're low.
Well,
It's about a system that understands the entire inventory of your life, anticipates your needs, and has the physical dexterity to actually execute the cooking.
so it's putting cooking dinner and, say, working on an assembly line in the same bucket.
Exactly. To an AI, are they really that different? They are just physics problems to be solved. And if a robot can handle the nuance of cooking, heat, texture, timing, it can absolutely handle complex manufacturing.
The distinction between skilled and unskilled manual labor just sort of evaporates.
It completely does.
Okay, so the robot handles the fridge in the factory. But then, and here's where the source gets really aggressive, it comes for the stuff people spent $100,000 on degrees for.
This was the part that really struck me.
We move away from manual labor and into education and communication.
The source explicitly says AI will be educating children and translating into 100 languages.
Educating children, I mean, that feels heavy.
Mm-hmm.
We're not just talking about some iPad app that gamifies math, are we?
No, we're talking about a personalized, adaptive intelligence that guides a child's development from the ground up.
Wow.
And when you pair that with the 100 languages point, you see the scale of this. Think about all the friction in the global economy right now just because of language
Well,
barriers.
it's the Tower of Babel problem.
Yeah.
It's massive.
Exactly. If you remove that, if everyone can speak to everyone else through an AI interface, You have just greased the gears of global trade in a way we have never, ever seen.
But it also means that being a translator, or even being a teacher in the traditional sense, changes from a primary role to
What?
a supervisory one.
Or maybe it just disappears.
And if that wasn't enough to make you sweat, the source goes straight for the white-collar jugular. It explicitly talks about replacing corporate work, specifically legal advice, tax, and accounting.
The holy trinity of safe jobs.
Right. Be a lawyer, be an accountant, you'll always have work. That's the mantra.
And the source just says, nope, not anymore.
So what's different this time? Because, computers are good at math. We've had Excel for 40 years, and accountants survived Excel.
That's the key. The difference is the shift from rules-based automation to probabilistic automation. That's what LLMs are.
Okay.
Old software could calculate tax if you gave it the right numbers. New AI can read the tax code, interpret the ambiguity, apply it to a messy real-world situation, and then make a judgment call.
And law and accounting.
Yeah.
They're complex, but at the end of the day, they are systems of logic.
And digital systems thrive on logic.
Okay.
Precisely. If you have an AI that can read the analog world and understand the digital tax code, the human accountant stops being the expert.
And starts being the bottleneck.
Yeah, that's it.
So that's the synthesis here, right? We have AI cooking dinner, working the factory, teaching the kids, translating the meeting, and filing the taxes. It's the fusion argument in full force.
Correct. The underlying point is that AI isn't just a digital tool anymore. By taking over physical labor and intellectual labor, it is merging the digital and analog worlds into one seamless reality.
There's no going offline in this new economy.
Because the economy itself is the code.
It feels like we're standing on the edge of a cliff. Or maybe we're already falling and just haven't realized it yet.
The source would argue we've definitely jumped.
Well, that leads us perfectly into the next section, this new economic reality. Because if the work is being done by machines, where does the value go? The source brings up some history, referencing the dot-com bubble.
Yes, and this historical context is really vital to understanding the fusion idea. The source makes a really interesting distinction. It says that after the dot-com bubble burst, a digital economy did open up. We got Amazon, Google, the internet as we know it. But, and this is the crucial part, a boundary remained.
The dot-com era was like the handshake between digital and analog.
That's a great way to put it. You ordered the book online, which is digital.
But a human in a brown truck had to drive it to your house. Analog.
Exactly. So the source is arguing that the last 20 years were just the intro to digital class, and now we're in the master class. The boundary's gone.
And this brings us to that phrase everyone uses, but the source really doubles down on. Data is the future oil.
Yeah.
I have to push back a little bit. I feel like I've heard data is the new oil at every tech conference since 2012. Is this just a rehash of that?
It sounds like a cliche, but the source adds a new layer. In the old model, data was just information about you, what ads to show you.
Right.
In this fused world, data is the literal fuel that operates physical reality.
Explain that more.
Well, if the robot is cooking your dinner, it needs data on the physics of food, your nutritional needs, the inventory in the fridge. If the AI is driving the car, it needs real-time spatial data. If the AI is your lawyer, it needs the entire corpus of legal precedent.
So the oil isn't just for ads anymore. It's the electricity keeping the lights on in the physical world.
Turn off the data, and the car stops, the kitchen stops, the economy stops.
Exactly. And that leads to the source's most dramatic claim, that we're already passing the singularity.
And for anyone who thinks of the singularity as just sci-fi-like computers getting smarter than people, the source seems to be using it more to talk about speed.
Yes. It's referring to the rate of compounding, the idea that we're moving so fast we literally can no longer predict what the world looks like 5 years from now. We are in the event horizon.
And in that chaos, the source says it knows exactly who is holding the keys.
The big tech monopoly. This is where the economic argument gets really sharp. In a world where digital and analog are one, the companies that own the data and the platforms, they don't just control the internet, they control the whole economy. Period.
And that's where that terrifying phrase comes back, suck up all the world's wealth. The source explicitly states these companies are going to absorb everything.
But is that realistic? Governments exist. Antitrust laws exist.
The source argues that the capital requirements to build this fused world are just so astronomically high, no one else can compete. We're talking about spending $100 billion a year on GPU clusters and data centers.
The CapEx moat, right.
Exactly. A startup can't spend $50 billion on chips. So the argument is that this naturally leads to a consolidation. If data is oil, these companies are Standard Oil, but on a scale we've never seen before.
It sounds bleak. I mean, if they suck up all the wealth, what's left for the rest of us? If I'm not Google, am I just a peasant in this new digital feudalism?
Well, that raises the existential question. In this scenario, the average person loses their economic leverage. If you aren't needed for labor because robots do it, and you aren't needed for your intellect because AI does it,
How do you even participate in the economy?
you don't want to be the horse when the Model T rolls off the assembly line.
You definitely do not want to be the horse. So, okay, let's pivot to the solution. Because the source doesn't just leave us in this dystopian hole. It does offer a ladder out.
It does. It's a very pragmatic financial ladder.
But I have to say, the ladder is, well, it's surprisingly simple. The source's primary advice is just investment, specifically investing in the M7 or Magnificent Seven ETFs.
Right. For anyone who isn't glued to financial news, the Magnificent Seven are the tech giants driving this: Apple, Microsoft, Google, Amazon, Nvidia, Meta, and Tesla.
The logic seems to be if you can't beat them, buy them.
Essentially, the source is saying, look, this massive wealth transfer is happening. The wealth is being sucked up by these companies because they're the only ones who can build the fused world. If you want a piece of that wealth, you have to own a piece of those companies.
But wait a minute, isn't that just buy high? These companies are already massive. Is the source really saying they still have room to run?
It argues that we are just at the very start of the fusion. If they really are going to control the physical labor market, the legal market, the education market, then their current valuations are actually low compared to the value they're going to extract.
It's not about speculating on a stock price.
No, it's about owning the toll booth of the future economy.
There's this specific image the source uses that I really want to highlight because it gave me a very weird feeling.
Uh-huh.
It promises that if you do this, if you invest in these big tech ETFs, you can, and I quote, comfortably and joyfully watch the changes in the world while becoming wealthy.
That phrasing is fascinating. Comfortably and joyfully.
It's so passive. It sounds like you're sitting in a lounge chair watching a disaster movie, but you're cheering because you own stock in the disaster.
It does imply a certain detachment, doesn't it? The role of the human in this future isn't to work or to build. It's to watch.
The investment buys you a ticket to the audience.
That's a wild way to think about it. You're not paying to play the game. You're paying to sit in the VIP box and watch the AI play the game.
And the alternative, which is implied, is that if you don't have that ticket, you aren't in the VIP box. You're part of the machinery that's being replaced.
So it's presented almost as a survival strategy. It's not get rich quick. It's don't get left behind.
And it frames it with a sense of urgency, too. The source ties it back to the singularity, saying now is the time.
Because of the acceleration. The argument is that once this fusion is complete, once the infrastructure is all set, the winners will be locked in. You can't buy Standard Oil after it owns all the oil. You have to get in while the pipes are being laid.
So the promise is comfort. The mechanism is the M7 ETFs. And the reality is a world where big tech runs absolutely everything.
That sums it up. It's a strategy for financial insulation against a technological tsunami.
Okay, let's zoom out and just look at the whole picture.
Right.
We started with the premise that digital and analog are fusing. We aren't waiting for the future. The future is installing itself in our kitchens right now.
Right.
We went through the list. It's stocking the fridge, handling the physics of the real world. It's replacing the white-collar workforce, handling the logic of the legal and financial worlds.
And it's doing it in 100 languages, removing the friction of human mediation completely.
Then we looked at the economic reality. Data isn't just for ads anymore. It's the fuel for physical reality. The boundary between online and offline is gone.
And because of the massive cost to build this, big tech is poised to suck up all the world's wealth, a total consolidation.
And finally, the source gives us the roadmap. Invest in those companies now. Don't try to fight the robot. Buy the company that makes the robot.
And if you do that, you get to sit back, relax, and joyfully watch the world transform while your bank account grows.
It's a very clear logic, bit chilling, but clear. It accepts this consolidation as inevitable and then just asks.
Where do you want to be standing when it happens?
Exactly. It's like the source is saying, the world you knew is ending. Here's how to buy a condo in the new one.
That's a great analogy for it.
But, as we wrap this up, I keep coming back to that comfortably watching part. Sounds nice, I guess. No more chores, no more taxes. But I don't know. Is that it? Is that the dream? Just consumption.
I think that raises the most important question of all, and this is the provocative thought we should probably leave our listeners with today.
Okay.
The source presents a very compelling logic for your financial safety. But if we follow this vision to its final conclusion, where AI is doing our work, raising our kids, cooking our food, and big tech holds all the wealth, and our only role is to watch comfortably because we've got the right ETF,
What does human agency actually look like in that new fused world?
that is the question. Are we the masters of this new world because we own this stock, or are we just well-paid pets kept by the machines?
A terrifying thought to end on. Thanks for listening to this deep dive. We'll catch you next time.
Stay curious.